Hey, hello and welcome back in another video. In this video I'm going to show you how you replace an input jack on a Gretsch style guitar. So the problem I had on my guitar was that when I wobble the guitar cable around I hear some crackles, noise. So while this might be a bad input jack, the first thing you always should check is to use another instrument cable so you're sure it's not the guitar cable. Once you're sure it's not a guitar cable, then you can check the input jack. A bad input jack doesn't mean always a new one. So over time the wires from the input jack can get a little loose because it's heavily used. So the second thing I would do is to resolder the input jack to see if this fixes the problem. Alright? So the tools you need are I don't know how it is called, but I think it's a telephone cutter. This is useful for getting the wires out of your F-holes. You can get really deep in it. A soldering iron. Doesn't need to be expensive, just this is also a cheap one. This gets the job done. Then you need a guitar string with a knot on the end. This is a helpful tool to get your input jack out of the F-holes and to put your input jack back in. In this video I'm using a soldering wire, but I actually prefer a string because it doesn't break easily. And of course a new input jack. If you buy a new input jack, please make sure that the shaft length is long enough. For a Gretsch guitar you probably need a long shaft and not a regular Fender one. I accidentally ordered the wrong one, so then you have a problem. So for a Gretsch guitar, what you want to use is a Switchcraft L11, I think, or something that says it has a long shaft. So please be aware of this, right? So the first step is to loosen the nut with a, I don't know the name in English, but it's a 12 millimeters size. Just loosen the nut a little bit, carefully. After you loosen it a little bit, not too much, that it doesn't fall out. Then you take your thin wire and feed it to the output jack. And then you have to try to fish out of the F-hole. Alright. So I got my wire in my hands. Now let's feed it through. And on the end of the wire you need to make a little knot. So just something like this. And now I'm going to loosen completely the nut. There we go. And this now remember the order, so the washer first and then the nut. Now we are going to pull the input jack very gently through the F-hole. So the easiest place to get the jack out is in the middle of the F-hole, right here. Okay, so now we have the jack out. I'm going to remove the wire so it's easier to work on. Ta-da! So don't freak out. Just play a little bit with your guitar until it falls out. So now comes the replacement part and the soldering part. So before we start, make sure you put your cloth on your guitar. You don't want to have bits of soldering on your guitar. Okay, so before you remove the wires, make sure you make note on which wire goes where. Take a picture with your cell phone from it, so that you are certain you did it the correct way. So the first thing we need to do is to remove the wires. We also want to use some utility to grab the metal part, so you don't have to put your hands on it because it can become really hot. Okay, one wire is loose, now the other one. There. Okay. So now the input jack is removed. So now we have this situation. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is to re-glue the new input jack. I already put my wires a bit on, so it's easier for me to solder them. So finally, after a lot of trial and error, I managed to connect it. Took me about 10 minutes. Okay, so now the next step is to just get the output jack back in and pull it through the hole. So the next step is to feed your wire back through your output jack once again. Also, don't forget to add the lock washer to it. So now make knot once again, just to make sure it doesn't fall off. And now you are going to gently pull back the output jack through your body. So after you feed the input jack back out, you slide the washer back to the shaft of the input jack and tighten it. Please make sure you always order the right shaft length. So, and that's how you replace an input jack on a Gretsch guitar. Okay, so see you in the next one. Bye.